Why is everybody always picking on me?
Yo, check it out! Finally got this motherfucker in frame, bitches! I just need to find a fucking co-op that's strong enough. I tried to hang it up with this thing and it apparently didn't work, so... No, wait. It's just Sam. Same thing.
Riiser, it's been a year and a half. You have to read Yaoi.
Wait, you were serious?
Duh, of course I was. This comic needs to be shared with the world.
Well, tough shit, I'm not touching that thing with a 10-foot pole. You don't obviously remember picarto and what I had to go through with that shit.
I thought you might say that. Remember your precious PS1 games?
Yeah? You cold-hearted manipulative bitch! Don't touch my babies!
So are you gonna read Yaoi?
Yes! Oh, fuck! Yes! But on one condition.
Yes?
You guys have to suffer through this thing with me.
You might have to settle with just me on that one. But hey, how hard can it be? It's just a silly webcomic.
Yeah. I like to think that I've become rather popular doing this show. Like, I'm getting fan art, which I love. I'm having people giving me shoutouts in other videos.
Now you go by the you go by the internet name of Riiser of the Webcomic Relief.
Before I begin, I actually want to acknowledge that I was beaten to being the first review of Bittersweet Candy Bowl by Riiser over at Webcomic Relief. His video involves a 1 hour and 6 minute review of this comic. Good God, Riiser, do you have any self-control?
I don't think I would do that service well, but there will definitely be others who can, like Webcomic Relief, who shows webcomics of all kinds and likely knows a lot more about them than I sure do.
We got Riiser of the Webcomic Relief, which I hope all of you are familiar with. He does awesome reviews, he's an awesome, fun person.
I'm having voice actors do funny little bits for me, and second best of all, fan art being the best, is being sent people's legit awesome webcomics and ask for my 2 cents. It makes me feel like my input is appreciated, and it makes all the hard work feel like it matters. However, as much as I love that, I'm kinda annoyed cause every time where I'm asked, hey, do you wanna check out Awesome Comic 4? I have to reply, I can't right now cause I'm elbow deep in shitty Comic 8. But then again, Cloudy suggested Anarchy Dreamers, which was super good, and here Sam is suggesting... What was the name again?
Yaoi.
So Sam, why don't you tell our lovely viewers, what is Yaoi?
The term Yaoi is derived from an acronym that actually began to crop up in the 1970s. Yamanashi, Ochinashi, Iminashi. This translates as no peak, no fall, no meaning, which is a fancy way of saying plot? What plot? Yaoi got its start at Japanese doujinshi, or fan comic conventions, where female artists often draw characters from their favorite titles as gay lovers. It's a genre created by women for women, so much so that actual gay Japanese men much rather prefer a genre of their own, known as bara, because they don't relate to or even enjoy yaoi manga at all. Everything in these stories are given a female perspective, and sex scenes in yaoi often don't show private parts for that very reason. Because to girls, ew, penis. Which is why you'll actually often see glowing cones of light where dicks should be.
This was a bad idea.
Yaoi is written and drawn by Judith Light and had its debut on DeviantArt back in August 2014. She then began to post the pages to Smack Jeeves at a later time, and the other naughtier half was uploaded on her blog. When I originally saw this on a photo set on Tumblr, I seriously thought it was a joke. I'm not kidding. Mostly because the post had panels where characters were saying stupid shit like, "Ohio Sherlock-san" and Watson-kun, and showed characters from outlandish franchises like Despicable Me, Time Squad, and Osmosis Jones.
Wait, what?
Oh yeah, bitch. You heard me.
Yep. This is basically the epitome of shitty fanfic meeting cringy weeb meeting the most hyper-specific fetish known to man. Male impregnation or impreg. So, do you like, say, Harry Potter, Sherlock Holmes, Bleach, How to Train Your Dragon, Yu-Gi-Oh, Tarzan, Minions, fucking Thor and Loki, do fucking Raymond? You know, the mascot character from that weird child cartoon in Japan?
Then, boy, you're gonna be ultra butthurt.
Literally. Or if you like terrible shipping that makes absolutely no sense, stupid unproportionate yaoi hands and anatomy, gratuitous sex scenes and biology that is so outlandish it makes an alien autopsy look like a game of fucking Operation, then this comic should be right up your back alley. To put on your Nazi armband, trust me, it'll make sense, grab a fuck ton of lube, and get ready as we thrust ourselves into Yaoi High. Sam wrote that one.
Hey, no, I did not.
The comic starts out with a stock image of a house? Are you serious? We haven't even read a single letter yet and this is already bullshit.
Better get used to it. Every establishing shot is either a stock photo or stolen digital art.
Great! So inside Stock Photo Avenue, second floor on the right, we meet our protagonists, Harry Potter, Hermione Granger, and Ron Weasley. And if you think I'm making that up, boy, do you have a long episode ahead of you. Someone rings the bell and it's some minion from Despicable Me arriving with a letter saying that effective immediately, Ron and Harry have been enrolled to a breeding program at Yaoi High.
And before we continue, I'd like everyone reading this to give this comic what I like to call the Human treatment.
The what?
You know, Human, that artist behind the lovingly racist comic Scandinavia and the World. See, a while back she started doing some comics that centered around femdom. And while that may just seem like a harmless kink, things were a bit more, well, kind of fucked up actually. The folks over on the Encyclopedia Dramatica forums took some examples and used Photoshop to switch the genders. And in doing this, they showed that the scenarios were actually kind of scary. So, in Yaoi High, every time something sounds super fucked up, like with mandatory impregnation and forced sexual reproduction, imagine the same thing, but with the sexes reversed. Have fun!
In the year 20XX, evolution favored a multicultural society in which all forms of races and species live together in one harmony, humans, aliens, and robots alike. Until one day a mysterious storm raged upon the world, bringing in a plague that seemed to affect mostly women. Almost half of the population of women were eradicated, and those who survived, only a handful of them were fertile, while the rest was left barren. While the plague seemed to affect certain male physiologies, making them able to conceive and at a much better rate than females.
If this sounds like the plot to a terrible porno, that's because it is.
Thus, a breeding program was established where every year healthy young men will be recruited to serve their duty as breeders, match made with a compatible donor, and be inseminated so that they can carry on the human race. Youth and Order Institution, Yaoi High, is that research facility for the breeding program. So, to summarize, girls got ultra fucked and it's now up to the men to get pregnant. No matter how little sense that makes. Like, where the fuck does the baby come up?
Shh. We'll talk about that later.
So, inside this office is the dean, and you can pick who you think the dean is. Is it the obvious self-insert OC with a thing for lingerie and minions? Or is it the mascot character Doraemon? You know, the Japanese equivalent for Barney the dinosaur. Anyway, these two are talking with Gru here because they wanna hire his minions to do menial slave labor like carrying luggage and shit, and when Gru refuses to just give up his minions, Doraemon resorts immediately to emotionally blackmailing Gru with the life of his wife Lucy. You know, this guy is now this guy. Give me the money! Which I suppose makes Gru here Liam Neeson and Doraemon is the fucker who kidnapped his daughter.
Hey Sam, how many pages is this?
7.
We move on to Harry and Ron riding the stolen digital art train while talking about how nervous they are. Ron is apparently in a relationship with Hermione in this universe and had considered taking the next step with her, even though she's not what the universe calls a thriver, which means a girl who can get pregnant. This just proves this is made by a woman, cause any man would tap that shit all day every day with no repercussions. So they arrive to Yaoi District Station, the stop just before Yuri District Station.
No, keep going!
No,
keep
going!
going!
Go back, please go back!
Keep
Oh,
going!
God, please
Don't stop
go
here!
back.
We can skip this!
Come to think of it, what the fuck do they even do at Yuri High? Like, if it's just a place for girls who can't get pregnant, is it just a massive brothel? No wait, that'd be hetero high. Then what the fuck is the point with Yuri High? So they get off at Yaoi District Station and meet... Oh sweet god. They meet Osmosis Jones, Son Goku, Luffy, the dude from Initial D, I think, Yugi, and fucking this guy. Anyway, after being told that Osmosis here is their guardian, they're off towards Yaoi High.
We're almost there, guys! Your new home!
Stolen Art Academy.
So after arriving to Yaoi High, Doraemon explains that these nubile young boys will serve as breeders at the school for the next 3 years. During these 3 years, their life will function as normally as possible, only every now and then they will be forced to fuck someone until they finally become pregnant. Doraemon continues to explain that if they want to pursue a further relationship with the partner, they're free to do so. Wait, they have to fuck? What about artificial insemination? Like, if we pretend this is actually even a thing, isn't it super fucked to force them to have actual sex?
Actually, every little thing of this comic can be solved with the marvel of modern science known as artificial insemination. Suddenly you don't have to worry about anyone's feelings getting hurt or, you know, even more important, anyone's human rights being violated. Hell, it's a goddamn wonder that this isn't a fucking forced part of it all. The human race rides on these guys getting pregnant. Isn't there like a much bigger success rate with artificial insemination anyway?
This is so fucking goddamn stupid! Straight pornos makes more sense than this. Later on in a chapter that only Sam was brave enough to read, they even mentioned the fact that they keep a dead character's sperm. So why can't they just stick to artificial insemination?
Oh, but Riiser, how are we gonna have the dragon breeder chapter then?
The what?
Oh yeah, there's an entire chapter, which we're gonna call How to Fuck Your Dragon, cause we got the mental maturity of a 10-year-old, dedicated to Hiccup getting fucked hard by Toothless. But it's a goddamn dragon! How the fuck is he gonna bring the dragon race back on its feet?
Riiser, you don't understand. It doesn't have to make sense, it's just to show us sexy stuff.
Really? Then, to explain why there's these super heavy-handed scenes, like one day Harry is out eating lunch and then all of a sudden this girl comes up and wants some of his food.
Fuck off! You fucking kid. Keep that motherfucking... Fuck up! Go on! Leave! Come to eat here. What are you do? Fucking go!
And out comes Severus Snape.
Well, that's obviously because it's a famous pairing. I think. Snape and Harry? I don't know, I never really got into that part of the fandom.
Well, yeah, but fucking read this. Snape introduces his daughter as a fucking friar the first time Harry sees her. That's similar to saying, if you fuck my 6-year-old daughter, she can totally get pregnant.
What's so heavy-handed about that? It's terrible, and I mean disgusting and terrible and kind of sick, but not exactly heavy-handed.
Oh, we'll get there.
They go out for dinner and Snape tells Harry how he and Sirius Black was once a thing and Sirius is the dad to Star, their little mute girl. However, Sirius died, leaving Snape alone to take care of Star. Months go by and Snape and Harry's relationship seems to get deeper and deeper until one day when No-Face from Spirited Away here comes up and hands Harry a letter saying his breeding partner has been found. This hits the both of them so hard that Harry is reduced to tears because he can't get that Snape snake, and Snape even goes as far as to say, even Sirius' death didn't hit me this badly.
I guess you can say their relationship wasn't that serious? Hey, I'm trying, okay?
But seriously, just cause Harry has to go and be some dude's bottom bitch, Snape is now more traumatized by that than when the father of his fucking child, and probably also loving partner, died. It affected him less than this. Talk about having your priorities completely wrong. Anyway, I'm sure you guys can guess what happens next. Snape conveniently ends up being Harry's donor and we are getting some nice and terrible yaoi art. And then sex ensues.
You're a bottom bitch, Harry.
I'm a what? What's so heavy-handed in that?
Well, for one thing, I don't need fucking tears and drama in a fucking porno. The plot makes so little sense that your only way of pardoning that is by going, oh, it's a porno, it doesn't exactly have to be Shakespearean writing. But then it starts trying to be this weird romance story that tries to tug at your heartstrings.
To play devil's advocate here, as I said before, yaoi is meant for female readers. Similarly to how lesbian porn caters to men, yaoi titles often display themes that are designed for women to enjoy. Emotional melodrama, men in effeminate roles, and even attitudes towards sex are drawn from a more female perspective. But yeah, the flaw with Yaoi High is that it's too boring in the sex department to be a porno, and too poorly written to be a good drama. It also tries to be funny, but it seems like no one really clued Judith in on the fact that the only thing funny about this comic is how utterly bizarre and stupid it is.
Well, at least it's over, right?
There's more on her DeviantArt.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
But really, there isn't much to say about the other chapters because they all pretty much follow the same formula. Character falls for someone, they get picked to breed, then there's some drama, but they always end up happily ever after with the person they originally fell for.
You'd think that in a dystopian society where the population is so threatened there would be no room for that many happy endings. There's a program that pushes mandatory reproduction, but everyone conveniently gets exactly what they want. Even when a character originally shows reservations to the whole ordeal, like with Ron still being in love with Hermione, their mind is quickly changed for the sake of yaoi. The drama is just melodrama. There are no stakes, no tension. The idea of a world that enforces impregnation is horrific, and you could really showcase how characters handle having their reproductive rights controlled. But instead, everyone heavily takes it up the pooper, pops out some kids, and marries their baby daddy.
With a comic like Yaoi High, the bar doesn't really go very high. It's made for the fan service, and Judith can rightfully do what she wants with it, as she herself has referred to it as her own crack-fueled crossover paradise. But I'm being completely honest here when I say I'd really be interested if she took advantage of her setting more. There's a quote about writing that I love and personally try my hardest to follow when it comes to my own work. The writer's job is to get the main character up a tree, and then once they're up there, throw rocks at them. Basically, don't be afraid to treat your characters like shit. It makes the payoff of overcoming their obstacles so much more satisfying. Plus, if you're the writer or just a complete sadist, you get to sit back and watch your readers wallow in misery.
If the entire Stark family in Game of Thrones survived every assassination attempt and triumph against every adversary so they can live happily together in Winterfell, then there's nothing to keep you invested. If Kamina lived in Gurren Lagann, then Simo never would have developed and transformed the way the story needed him to so he could save the universe. Would have made the entire series pretty fucking lame.
So much of the drama in this comic revolves around abuse, disapproving third parties, unrequited love, or sometimes even rape. But there are tons of other ways to show a struggle that can make things so much more intriguing. I would love to see how a couple could thrive if they couldn't get pregnant in the world of Yaoi. Would their relationship last even if the one thing that forced them together failed? Or how about a couple trying to stay together while one of them has to carry a stranger's child?
But instead, all the drama we really get is, oh no, that's not the dick I want inside of me. But it really is!
Before I start thinking Harry is the only one getting his free gun, so does Ron, however a little more reluctantly so. Oh yes, Ron gets raped by none other than Malfoy here, who seems to have it out for Ron simply because he's poor. And so he rapes Ron only to later apologize for it.
Sorry I raped you. And stop me if this sounds familiar, but then Ron gets an invitation from No Face 2, which means it's time to go to the Bone Zone. But before we can find out who his donor is, it turns out that Hermione's actually getting married now. And instead of being sad that the love of his life is clearly cheating on his ginger ass with Victor Crumb, who, might I add, actually knows how to handle his broom, Ron's relieved because that means he can hook up with the dude who raped him?
In what world does it pardon you from raping someone just by saying you're sorry? But yeah, it's basically the same story as it was with Snape and Harry. A completely platonic friendship escalates because one of them is super good at cooking, a person has his priorities completely upside down, and just when you think they're going to fuck someone as part of the breeding ritual, whoopsie fucking daisy, what's waiting on the other side of the door is...
Oh my god! Look at it!
I don't give a fuck whether or not this is supposed to be just straight up porn or whatever. What the heck is Malfoy wearing? A kimono, sure, but a fucking tie? Who the fuck thought that was a good idea? Like, sure, a loose tie can be sexy, but you know what kinda has to be there for that to work? A goddamn shirt! This is a kimono! Wait, does this mean Malfoy was wearing a kimono and a tie? Who the heck gave this dumb idiot fashion tips? Fucking Bjork? So they fuck and Ron immediately becomes Malfoy's bottom bitch.
So, as the eagle-eyed viewer will probably have noticed, it's the exact same thing that happened with Harry.
We're just gonna cut it here with the run through cause oh my god is this the worst writing in a long fucking time. It fails in fucking everything. The entire thing is set up the same way. Every romance thing has one person, or in some cases some other humming dragon, come in and save the dude from some sort of confrontation. Then the main person in question gets all hot and bothered and then becomes the receiver of the savior's penis. And in between this you will have someone giving birth and being carried, and sometimes you will have dinner being cooked because I guess Judith likes a man who can cook or some shit. And lastly, everyone who gets pregnant has a nice and easy birth. In short, everything repeats itself. You read the first 3 chapters like we did and you're good. The rest that'll happen is just more background info on the Yaoi. Like we covered before, that shit already doesn't make any sense because of artificial insemination.
Like, I know you have to do kind of a Gurren Lagann and kick logic to the curb when dealing with the plot of a porno, like when a girl orders a pizza with extra sausage and can't seem to pay for it. But come on!
The story barely makes any sense, even by porn standards, and not only that, but the story is terribly to read too. Like, Judith has this odd idea that it's fine to just cut a word whenever, and while it's not exactly something you can't do, whether or not you should do it this frequently is a different matter entirely. Especially when you got so much goddamn room to put it in. The problem with this stuff is that many people like to just autocorrect a word after the first few letters, and so if you part the word up like this, we're just gonna assume one thing and end up with another, making us pause to correct ourselves, and like we have been over before, the moment you make the reader unintentionally stop, you fucked up.
So, regretting this yet?
Getting there.
It's not great.
A lot of Yaoi has terrible art. It's to the point where it's a running joke just how terrible it is at times. The backgrounds are usually non-existent, the men don't look like men, and the all-time classic The Anatomy is all over the goddamn place.
Look at this dude. Wait till you see the... No. Look at the top of his head. Look at his lips.
So either Judith is super good at copying the Yaoi style, or she fell into the exact same trap as other Yaoi artists, cause she has the exact same problem down to a fucking science. Look at how nothing their faces are. Look how there's sometimes literally no backgrounds, like at all. And every now and then characters are reduced to whatever you wanna call this.
Even if you can copy an original style to a T, if the original style is terrible, then your art's gonna be terrible too. Fanfics are typically easy to write, most of all because the work has more or less been done for you. Fanfiction just has you taking a pre-existing world, pre-existing characters, and then usually you shit all over it. However, when making a comic, you also have to draw the characters in question, and boy do I wish that wasn't the case here. Cause oh god.
To give you an idea of what we mean, look at this. This is Snape, this is Harry, this is Ron, and this fellow with the mullet here is Malfoy. Now if you can't see that that's who these people are supposed to be, honestly, I can't blame you. But it gets even worse. This is Sherlock Holmes, this is Ichigo from Bleach, and I think this is supposed to be Ginny.
In short, they look nothing like they're supposed to. Now, I can appreciate the idea of putting all your favorite characters in one comic. I really can. Crossovers can be a lot of fun. But fuck me, dude. Having minions and Doraemon in this? Like, okay, you got Thor and Loki, cause hell, even I think they're attractive. And I guess some people can have a thing for Bandicoot Cabbage Patch and Daniel Radcliffe here, so for them to be in a porn comic, sure, fine, whatever, that makes sense. It's a porno, right? Fuck your logic. So what is this motherfucker doing here? What, you wanna fuck a minion? You wanna fuck Doraemon?
Can we also just take a moment to talk about the god-awful design choice this was? Okay, so with how much Judith here wants to have anime stuff in a comic to the point of having someone exclaiming Sherlock Holmes-kun, it's pretty easy to assume that the armband here is supposed to be what leaders wear in the East. I'm sure you've seen it on characters such as school council presidents and more. The problem is, however, that here in the West, the red armband around your arm has a very different meaning.
Suchen Sie ihn! Ich will Federn sehen! Sofort! Wenn sich ohne Befehl entfernt hat, ist das Fahnenflucht! Verrat! Bringen Sie mir Federlein! 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 Federlein!
And that's not only what it can mean, but then there's also what it does mean. For some odd reason, all the breeders have to wear that armband. Why? Doesn't that make them more vulnerable? Is it really that important that everyone knows they take it up the ass? Does everyone really have to know their sexual orientation?
This isn't Tumblr, dude.
Another small, kind of nitpicky thing that bothers me about the art is the way that it's colored. Now, I'm the last person in the world that should talk when it comes to art advice. There's a reason why I only write for my comic and leave the rest up to Stacie. But there's something about the way Judith colors with markers that looks sloppy and almost childish in a sense. Rather than making long strokes and letting the ink bleed together, she uses these short scribbles that messily build on top of each other. There are a few very rare instances where she scraps this method entirely and then uses the fill bucket on the computer instead. If she did this and ditched the markers for the whole comic, things would look much better. It also wouldn't be nearly as bad if it was at least consistent.
Another genius idea in the art department are these little gems. Wow, Judith. Just wow. Like a legit slow clap here from Denmark. I've said it before and I'll happily say it again, drawing backgrounds is hard and you'll typically find it far more interesting to draw people doing shit than you will drawing a park. But you know what most people do? They at least fucking try. Judith, what the fuck are these? Seriously, pictures? And sometimes digital art made by, let's face it, someone else, and I'd wager someone you haven't even contact to ask for permission to use their art. Do note this is only speculation. But fuck, that's not what art is about. Art is the expression and application of human creativity, and the beauty of art is seeing it grow. It's improving it. It's the first time you learn to draw hands, the first time you draw a good action pose, getting a complicated object right. It's drawing a believable set of clothes with folds and all, and it's also drawing fucking backgrounds. There's a reason why the word art is also used for music, literature, dancing, and fucking martial arts. It's because these are things that cannot be perfected, and half of the charm is striving for that perfection despite of that. That is why traces and bullshit like this pisses me off. Cause you don't fucking care about that. All you wanna do is fucking cheat cause shit's hard. And even for the sake of argument, if you did have to use these pictures, at least you could have implemented that as part of your style. Use it as backgrounds and not just establishing shots. I've seen people doing that and it gives the comic a more realistic feel. And even then, they've altered it in some way and not just lazy black and white or whatever the fuck you were trying to do with this.
You alright?
I haven't been alright since we started reading this. So as per usual, when I'm reviewing a comic that both has the writing and the sex, we need to get down and dirty with the sex to see if it holds up with that at least. Seeing the writing and the normal art are about as interesting as dry paint. So, is the sex scenes anything to write home about? Trust me when I tell you, no. It's the surprisingly stale formula of one person who wants it and one person who doesn't. Usually the person who doesn't want it is a receiver, and I swear this is common with every goddamn yaoi out there.
But this sex is just downright silly. Proportions change constantly, and sometimes even their body structure has to be changed, just in order to make a sex position work. Something I'm pretty sure isn't exclusively a yaoi thing, but come on, look at this. This is where Toothless fucks Hiccup. That's not how a dragon should look. That's a fucking dude in a Toothless costume.
Maybe someone just really wanted to fuck Hiccup and thus dressed up like Toothless to fool him. It's a porno! Well, fuck! Like, come up with something better, I don't fucking know!
Also, maybe it's just me who doesn't understand yaoi. Big shocker, I know, but if you don't want the actual sex cause it's ew dirty, then why spend so much time showing the sex? I mean, the sex scenes between Snape and Harry is about 4 pages long. And you might say, that's not a lot. But if I then elaborate and tell you that that's roughly the same amount of pages they've had to get to build a relationship with it, kinda puts it into perspective, doesn't it?
It's like if the writer of Bible Black came out and said that the main focus of the fucking hentai wasn't the sex, but instead the deep, romantic narrative being spun underneath. I can feel you judging me right now, fuck you!
Okay, we've been dancing around it for long enough now. It's time to talk about the bees and the bees. Kids, it's time to get graphic. When a man and a woman loves each other very much, they do a bunch of lewd shit and the woman gets preggers. After typically 9 months of pregnancy, she has a baby. Now, I know this is earth-shattering stuff for you guys, but bear with me here. When the baby is born, it comes out of a woman's vagina, a sexual organ specifically made for this purpose. Now, why do I bring this up? Well, how the fuck does it work with men? Now, I know some of the men out there who are watching this are cringing super hard, perhaps crossing your legs a little, and I'm sure we can all agree that while it doesn't make much sense, it would be very nice if the baby came out of the ass. Cause if not, it'd be like pushing a goddamn football through a crazy straw.
let it be known, a few things are more hilarious than when someone gets well-established characters wrong.
What the hell are you doing, you motherfuckers? It was Dumbledore.
While not being my immortal levels of cringy goodness, it's still pretty fucking close, and throughout reading this comic all I could think of was that. Judith still manages to display an almost downright impressive inability to capture any and all character traits from characters that has had 7 books and even more movies and video games dedicated to them. It almost reminds me of Cloud from Final Fantasy VII and how no one since the first game has been able to capture Cloud, but all seems to be going off from how they think he is based on hearsay and fanfic. Like, sure, Cloud gets pissy at one point, but his entire goddamn persona isn't that he's an angsty, depressed emo kid with a hard-on for talking about the darkness inside of him.
Like Stacie likes to say, Cloud wouldn't say "let's mosey" if he were an angst-ridden emo.
Now, I have a bone to pick with Final Fantasy and how they make characters, but even I can concede that they often have layers. Except for these cunts! And Harry and Cloud are the same. There's layers. Cloud's only personality trait isn't that he's angsty, and Harry's isn't that he's a gullible, good-hearted idiot. Heck, Harry has also proven to be jealous, short-tempered, well-mannered, and brave, not to mention a sass master at some point. So it makes it all the more insulting when all he is in this fucking comic is an idiot who's super good-willed and secretly hungry for the dick. That's all.
Can I say it?
Go ahead.
These characters are trash. Similarly to the story repeating itself, so do the characters. There's only really 3 different kinds of characters in this whole thing. There's the awkward, bumbling idiot who slowly gets turned over to the cock side. There's the pregnant men who are ever so distressed and worried about their babbies. And then there's the tough guy who will only showcase his bad side because he loves the person so much. That's it. You would think with a universe like this, where all characters from all fiction interact with each other, there would be a clash of personalities. Like, how about Ichigo? Ichigo is well known for not doing what he's told because he believes in his own way, due to him being a symbol of teenage rebellion. And he's just perfectly dandy with the way things are in this world. Wouldn't it be far more interesting if you had students who didn't want to go through with the program? And as such, you'd see what the school would do? But no, instead all we're getting is a guy who doesn't like it turning into a guy who likes it hard. All puns intended.
So let's just take it from the top. We've already covered Harry, so next up is Ron. Ron's only character trait he brings with him from the books is that he's the guy who typically questions things a lot more, and that he has a soft spot for Hermione. Hermione, on the other hand, cheats on him, and he's happy for that, cause that means he can get with Malfoy. Malfoy, in the meantime, is the bad boy who has it out for Ron, because he's poor, I think. And that's enough to get Malfoy so pissed that he rapes Ron and was even thinking of sterilizing him, helping doom the planet a little more.
Sorry I raped you and almost made you sterile, helping doom the planet a little more.
There is Snape, who is nothing like the books. Here he is, attractive single daddy.
Daddy, slay me! Slay me, Daddy!
Now, I think we all have a lot of friends that look at Alan Rickman, God rest his soul, and think,
I've got the hots for him.
I, however, just don't really see it, especially in his role as Snape. He looks like an old crusty math teacher with bad body odor. Plus, who the hell wanna hear something like this?
Yes, Potter. Take my dick in your ass, you little bitch boy.
We got Hiccup, who really is just like Harry, so let's just skip his uninteresting ass. We got Thor, the Norse god of thunder, who is good at standing and looking menacing and again being the supportive, attractive daddy. Loki has no personality and is literally only in the comic to be preggers and give birth to a baby. There is no face whose sole job is to deliver letters to people when they've been summoned for the mating ritual, and he won't go away unless you give him something sweet. So what if you don't have a fucking muffin at the ready? I don't know about you guys, but I'm not exactly walking around with cakes on me all the time. And I'm Danish, my nationality is a goddamn cake for crying out loud. We went from feared Vikings
to now have the same name as a cake. And not even a good one.
Doraemon is probably the supporting character that gets the most screen time, and he is the vice dean of the school. And while I never watched Doraemon, I don't think this Japanese Barney here is the type of dude who'll blackmail you, extort you, and seem all too happy about getting young boys to fuck each other. But then again, it's Japanese, so I might just be surprised. We got Sherlock Holmes here, who's a fucking bitch! Because he has hardly given birth to a girl before he's immediately apologizing to Watson because it's not a boy who can get pregnant later on in life.
Are you having a boy or an abortion?
Seriously, this is such a fucking disgusting mindset. You have hardly just finished giving birth to something, one of the things called the miracle of life, and your thoughts about this is immediately jumping to whether or not your baby can get fucked and in turn get pregnant. What the fuck is wrong with you? This isn't Serbian film.
You boy! Boy!
Let's not forget about the many characters that just kinda sorta gets dropped on the floor. Like for example Osmosis Jones here, who's apparently a failed breeder with Drix. There's also the fact that we never meet Goku, the guy from Initial D, or Luffy ever again. There's also Ichigo and Ishida from Bleach, who are nothing like they were before. I guess the only thing they have that's somewhat similar to the originals is that Ishida likes to adjust his glasses all the time. We also got Jack Frost, and to be fair, he's kinda sorta similar to how he's depicted as in the movie from what I understand. I've not watched it, but he seems to be the kinda happy-go-lucky kinda guy. Do correct me if I'm wrong though.
There's also a bit in the more recent pages that features Hiro, Fred, and Baymax, which is just... I won't even get into the hinted pairing with that part because it only ruined Big Hero 6 for me.
And then we have the Slender Men. Or rather we have Slender Man, Trender Man, Splendor Man, and Sexual Offender Man. So which one is Sexual Offender Man?
I think the guy second to the right?
He does look like a sexual offender, alright. And Slender Man is apparently the head nurse, who also has no personality's husband. And all four of these Slender Men are the head dean's creations, and they think of her as their mother. Which wouldn't be nearly as fucked up if it wasn't because of a scene in which the four Slendermen, the dean, the head nurse, and fucking Yami and Yugi from Yu-Gi-Oh! All having one massive orgy.
Can we go to the final verdict now?
Just need one more.
The head dean. This is a self-insert. You might think I'm making that up or just making a wild accusation, but when her character profile states that she goes by the name Lanouche, the same name as the goddamn author, I'm pretty sure I can chalk this up as a self-insert. And boy does Judith here have some positive thoughts about herself, which, you know, is fine and you should have that. But this is a little too much. First of all, she basically looks like a Victoria's Secret model, has the body of a porn actress, has insane power, can do fucking magic, is revered and loved by everyone, and her kinks apparently involve minions and fucking her own creations. See? This is why it's usually a bad idea to insert yourself into a comic. It's a two-way street. How you are reflects on your in-universe character, and your in-universe character reflects on you in the real life. Which is not a good thing in this case, cause she's a fucking parent.
Which is why I'm not gonna say anything more here. I don't wanna go ad hominem and attack the creator of this comic. Just trust me when I say that if I did want to, I would have more than plenty of ammo due to this comic.
The writing is a 2. God damn it, this is terrible. It is awful. It is filled with plot holes, stupid conveyance, bad writing, and whether it tries to be a comedy, a romance, or a sex story, it fails in it all. The art is a 4. Some of the art gets pretty good further in, and there are a few rare characters like the ones from Osmosis Joes and Wonder Over Yonder that match the original style a little. But ultimately it's just a chore to look through. Some of the presentation is so inept and bad you will have a hard time following the plot, and it's to the point where even reading the text bubbles becomes a problem. Also, the pictures, that shit needs to stop unless you're gonna do anything with them. The characters are a 2. What the hell is the actual point of involving a bunch of pre-existing characters in a story of your own if they're not gonna act like the characters they were in the stories you took them from? None of the characters act like they should, and once you get over the "is that blank?" shock, they got nothing to offer. All in all, this comic is a 2, but believe me when I say that it's a goddamn must read. Grab some friends, some alcohol if you fancy, and just start reading and you'll have one hell of a time with how terribly crazy this shit is. It's hilariously inept in almost everything. As a verdict in terms of quality, it's about a 2, but as for how fun it is to read, it's a 6. So go check it out with some friends, but don't expect anything other than the absolute worst from it.
I will say this though. Judith describes this comic as her personal yaoi paradise, and if that's the case, all I can do is give her props.
Huh?
Seriously. Don't get me wrong, the story is insane and the art can be hilarious. But as someone who struggles with sharing her own work publicly, I actually kind of admire that Judith just kind of said fuck it and then put the comic out there for everyone to read. Not only that, but there are people who genuinely enjoy Yaoi High. It currently has 127 fans on SmackJeeves alone, and from the comments on her DeviantArt, you can tell they are interested in the plot, or are excited about the character cameos at the very least. It may not be our cup of tea, like at all, but there's clearly an audience for this wacky story, and I sort of respect that Judith can keep trucking on with it.
But it's still insane!
Yeah.
So, what do you have to say?
I'm sorry.
What was that? I didn't quite hear you!
I said I'm sorry I made you read Yaoi High, okay? Are you happy now?
Good! Now hand over my fucking PlayStation 1 games!
Oh, I never had them to begin with. This is just a box I found lying around.
You would think I would look where I usually keep them. I feel silly now.
I'll see you guys at the next webcomic release.
Hey, that's my thing!
Take care!
See the big gold chain that I'm rocking. I got the ring full of pink, never dropping. I got a stash for the cash that I owe to my daughter. All up in the cut, just to live it up. Look how the streets turn cold when I walk it. It's my ghost, no man can stop it. I throw a kick so quick that I leave her in the gutter. Leave her in the gutter.
Happy holidays, everyone, and I hope you enjoyed this really weird comic that Sam Miyake was so nice to join me with, to, you know, go through the pain with me, and Stacie Pitt was super nice to also join in the thing. So I really hope that you guys will show them your support, and I really hope you guys like this video. Speaking of this video, a bunch of awesome people have been pledging some money on the Patreon so that this video could, you know, earn some monies, which we then use to improve the show. So I just like to give these guys some shout out, and if any of these people catch your fancy, please by all means go check them out. First of all, we got Amocin. Amocin is working on Druids, which is a adult comic in the World of Warcraft universe, or well, just Warcraft, centered around Druids. So if any of those things appeal to you, by all means go check it out. Catlin. Catlin is working on something that is not quite ready to get pushed just yet, but trust me when I say that once it does come out, you will have your socks blown off. So be patient, because I personally think there is a lot of potential in this. Next up we got Luraiokun, my main man Justin. Justin is working on Yahih, which is an adult themed furry comic with a bunch of mature themes in it. Not just, you know, the whole sexy thing, but a bunch of things that really, you know, strikes home with some people. So by all means go check that out. Hitori the Artist. Hitori does streams every week, and I know for a fact they want you guys to go and join those streams, hang out, have some fun, watch some good art, but also to give your feedback on their art. See if there's anything you want to, you know, like, you want to see. If there's something you don't like, you can say it. If there's something you like, you can, you know, be your own little webcomic relief, sort of. Next up, we have Megan Smith. Megan Smith is working on a webcomic known as World 8. And this one I really personally find very interesting because it does a whole new spin on the whole concept, the whole idea of being destined for one another. So if you want a different take on the meant for each other, you know, star-crossed lovers trope, go check out this comic. Next up we have Soulblader. Soulblader is working on a comic known as Tears of the Fallen, which is a action-based furry comic that, just looking at the art and some of the designs this dude has, is nothing short of amazing. It's not quite ready to get published yet, but once it does, promise me you'll check it out. Shane Asher. Shane Asher is working on a webcomic known as Strays of Seraria, which is a superhero-themed furry comic, and just right off the bat, Shane really knows what he's talking about. Like, he has contacted me so many times with a bunch of ideas, and every idea he has contacted me with seems to have so much thought and care put into it that it actually makes sense to put into the comic. So by all means, go check it out. Jake is working on the webcomic known as The Drifter, a comic with very mature themes and that's really down to earth. It's very gritty, it's very, you know, in your face. Please go check it out. Angel Povedano Ruiz. Angel is working on Destined Flames, which is a fighting action fantasy comic with very, like, it's just filled to the brim with twists and turns of all sorts and a lot of energy put into it. Go check it out. Olivier Latsky. Olivier wants to push the webcomic known as Jandor, which is a fantasy furry comic. Just looking at this thing for like the first 2 pages and you will be hooked with the sheer design and passion put into every page. By all means, go check it out. Alex J. Alex J is working on a webcomic known as Death's My Bitch, which is a workplace comic centered around death and how the Grim Reapers deal with people's death as a normal day of life. No pun intended. Go check it out. We have Arthur D. Gonzalez Martin, and I'm sorry if that didn't sound exotic enough, but yeah. Actually, I think Arthur has been pledging money to the Patreon before, but unfortunately Arthur hasn't gotten in contact with me telling me what he wants me to push. But if it's the dude I think it is, I think he had a podcast or something, I'll be updating it in the description of the video when I find out what it is he wants to push. So go check it out, it'll probably be super cool because Arthur seems like a super cool dude. Musashden. Musashi is working on a fully colored graphic novel known as Illegal Tender, which deals with superpowered bartenders in a world where superpowers is illegal. If that doesn't spark your curiosity, I can't help you. You are dead inside. Thomas Nostar. Thomas doesn't want me to actually push anything for him, so I'm just gonna throw some nice words his way, because oh my god, does it take a selfless person to want to back something up and not get anything in return. That's just like, I'm in awe of this guy's generosity, like holy shit. Agent Cheshire. Agent Cheshire is working on commissions, and you can get some too, and you should probably get going with that pretty soon, because once we hit 2017 the prices are gonna go up, so consider this your Arts Black Friday before the prices go up. Achromatic. Achromatic is working on a comic known as Pac-Man. And basically what the premise is that it's a mature themed comic about Pac-Man. How can you not want to read that? I like, holy hell. Shiv. Shiv is working on Key to My Heart. And if you want to feel jolly and warm inside here at Christmas, you need to read that comic. This is a very romantic, very cutesy, very heartwarming comic that I strongly suggest you go read. Scott Fraser. Scott Fraser is working on Star Warriors, which is an adventure fantasy comic about what happens when you wish upon a star. And it should also be stated that if you really like Star Warriors and have pledged to Scott Fraser's Patreon, or at least thinking about it, there's coming some new changes there that will probably put a little extra Christmas presents in your Christmas stocking. Nights to Dreams. Nights to Dreams is working on Fractures, which is a fantasy comic that deals with very heavy subjects such as life and death, and whether or not a journey will be worth it at the end, or whether or not it's the journey that is actually the real reward, stuff like that. And it's just presented in arguably one of the most interesting and just really nice art styles I can remember seeing in many years. Go check it out. Nick Nocturne, my boy over at Nightmind. This motherfucker has reached 100,000 subscribers. You know this guy knows what the fuck he's doing, like holy shit. If any of you guys haven't heard of him, go check it out. If you want anything spooky, something unnerving, something paranormal, Nightmind has it all. Go check it out. And last but definitely not least, we have Henry Volt, Arno Smed, Drika of Adrian, Insane Ukulele, Darkspeeds, Nicholas Knudsen, Jay Lee, Alistair Vane, Danny, Kawai Lee, Ghostlight Studios, Lizzie Shiro, Gage, Zachary Seligson, Tatia Persona, Dillian Schulz, Shannon TJ, and Vivid Publishing. If you want to support the show, you can do so on Patreon. Just go to www.patreon.com/Riiser with 2 eyes. You don't have to pledge any money for the webcomic relief to continue. By all means, that's gonna continue nevertheless. But everything that you can throw my way is greatly appreciated, and I try and use most of the money to improve the show in various ways. You have already seen some of them, which I hope that you like. And there are still ways to go. I know, like, I watch the professional YouTubers all the time, so I know, like, how I can improve, and I can do so with a little extra cash. If you don't want to support the show, well, at least think about liking the video, sharing the video, and subscribing to the channel. And if you don't want to do that, well, at least thank you for watching the video till the end. As a last little tidbit, I just want to wish you all a Merry Christmas, a Happy Holidays, Happy Hanukkah, whatever else you are celebrating. And just really thank you for everything in 2016. It's been kind of a shitty year. I think we can all agree on that. And I just really want to thank you all for being here and making 2016 bearable for me at least. If it wasn't for you guys, I don't know what I would do. And also just a major thank you for 5,000 subscribers. I wouldn't dream of reaching 5,000, but I'm not gonna stop here. So yeah, I hope for your continued support, and thank you so much. Have a nice holiday, and I'll see you guys at the next webcomic relief. Take care. Bye bye.